Hello and welcome. My name is Raymond Dijoma, and I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. So, in this particular video, this conversation is one conversation that we've had over and over behind the scene with clients, and I decided to do a video about it so that it will be in the open. And I'm pretty sure that some of you will definitely need this video, particularly those who want to invest in Nigeria. And of course, you know the top two cities are arguably Lagos and Abuja, right? And so, well, in this video, going to be doing a comparison, research comparison between Abuja and Lagos as it relates to real estate and real estate investment. Get the difference as it relates to real estate and real estate investment. As someone who has done real estate transactions in both cities, and I've stayed a while in both cities as well. And of course, a lot of research was done on this. So it's beyond just the practicalities of doing real estate transactions in both cities or living in both cities for a while. And of course, having partners who also do business in Lagos and then in Abuja respectively. It is on the basis of all of this that we're bringing this content. This video is critical to your investment. So for some persons who are looking at relocating back to Nigeria, you're looking at that angle of it as it relates to real estate. Then of course you need to watch this video to the end. If you're someone who basically just wants to invest in either of the cities, you're looking at the top three cities or top two cities to consider investing into based on your specific preference, then this video is also for you. And we're going to look at a number of indices: land size, population, land administration, which is very important, location, rental income, rental value generally, return on investment. You're looking at prices of lands and properties, serenity, environment, organization of the city, weather and climate. This is also very important. And then of course we're also going to look at the road network connections and accessibility. And of course, importantly, we ended at security. So all of these are factors or indices that will help us in looking at this very comparatively. And importantly, you're going to draw a conclusion which I believe is very critical to whatever decision you want to make as it relates to investing in either Abuja or Lagos, or of course in both cities. This video is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd, a real estate company right here in the city of Abuja. Some of you would think that, okay, we're going to make these sway towards Abuja because we are in the city. But of course, you trust that this is well researched and all of the information is going to be highly balanced. All right, so just do stay in touch. And like I was saying, this video is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd. We're a real estate company right here in the city of Abuja, and we bring you the best of real estate investment, and we share investment opportunities with you. And importantly, we are called the cash flow company. And the reason for that is because all of our investment opportunities that we bring your way in our portfolio are designed to ensure that you are able to build sustainable wealth through real estate investment. And we proudly want to be part of your financial success story as you journey to building wealth through real estate investment. So let's hit the rock. And just before then, if you're yet to subscribe and stay in touch, because just like the content you want to watch, we have other amazing content right on this channel. And I did say earlier that we don't just share real estate investment opportunities with you, we also educate you so that you know how to safely and rightly invest in a city like Abuja or Nigeria by extension. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. So we're going to start with the first on my list, and like I mentioned earlier, we have it outlined already, and we're going to look at all of these factors as we look at real estate in Lagos and Abuja. So the first is land size. We need to look at the land size of both locations. Abuja is 1476 square kilometers. 1476 square kilometers, and Lagos is 1171 square kilometers. Now, one very important thing that we need to look at, even though we've stated the land size of both cities, we need to state very clearly that Lagos is almost 171 square kilometers of water. So as much as there's land, so in other words, we're left with just about 999 square kilometers of land in Lagos, right? And of course, apart from some wealthy people who are able to fill the water and all of that and build, you largely have more land in Abuja than in Lagos when you look at that factor. Now, having stated that, it clearly has shown that Abuja has more land than Lagos. And land, as it were, in this conversation is the foundation, and which is the fact that that is real estate. You can't talk about real estate and not talk about land size. Land size is a great determinant of the value and the amount that you buy a land. As I like to always say, that there are three key factors you look at whenever you are buying land to determine the price of that land. But when you look at the size of the land, you look at the location, and you look at the title. Of course, there are a number of other things that you need to look at, but these three are almost top on the list, right? So in terms of size generally, Abuja has more land space than Lagos. Let's quickly jump to the next, which we'll talk about both of them on both levels. According to World Population Review, Abuja has 6 million plus people. 6 million plus people, while Lagos has about 24 million people. 24 million people. Now, as it relates to land size, it means that even though Abuja is over 1,000 square kilometers, it is housing about 6 million people, while Lagos has just about 1,000 square kilometers, right? Because we already stated that the water has taken about 171 square kilometers. Right now, Lagos, even though it has barely 1,000 square kilometers of land, it is housing over 24 million people. Now, clearly, it creates a massive demand on real estate, on land, because 24 million people are dragging or are looking to occupy just about 1,000 square kilometers of land, while barely 6 million plus people are occupying or are using over 1,004 square kilometers of land. So when you look at that already, it pretty much shows that there is high demand for real estate with less availability of land, and that creates increase, or that causes increase in the price of land. We're going to also look at a number of other factors as we proceed. So in terms of population, which is a major factor that drives the demand for real estate, Lagos has an edge because it has lesser land as well as a higher population that needs or that has a higher demand for real estate, while Abuja has more land and less population that demands the use of that particular land. So when you look at that comparatively, Lagos has an advantage as it relates to real estate. But we're going to proceed further as we determine. As a matter of fact, let's drop it here and then move forward. So in fact, I have investment in Lagos before Abuja. And the reason I did that was because I clearly already understood that Lagos is already losing land, or let me put it better, that Lagos is at that point where it is almost occupying all of its land, right? And that's the reason there's a massive drive and demand in the Ebe area of Lagos, which is arguably the last part of Lagos, that is remaining to experience development. That is why there's a lot of massive government presence in that region now, as well as a lot of other private real estate housing development moving into that area. That is the reason I made the move I made in 2021 to invest in Epe, because I know that that's arguably the last place remaining for Lagos to be completely occupied, as it were. Now, Abuja has land, of course, but there are a number of other factors that we're going to look at that will make you see that Abuja is almost, even though Lagos has a lot of population, let me leave it so that I don't jump the gun, right? But basically, that has been established in terms of land size, in terms of population, and you look at both comparatively, you realize that Lagos has an edge. And of course, we can't talk about, it's not part of what I intend looking at here, because the population is also an issue. right? But we can't talk about that right now. So let's move further to the next point. So now I was supposed to say this earlier because it's very important in this conversation, especially when you are comparing or having a conversation with respect to comparing Abuja and Lagos. Now, Lagos is something that has been existing, or Lagos is a city that has been existing as far back as a pre-colonial era, right? So Lagos sort of happened, or Nigeria happened to Lagos, as it were, and there's nothing anyone could, as it were, do about it because Lagos just cropped up, and all of a sudden, a lot of things began to happen in Lagos. But Abuja is quite the opposite, and that's the reason, or that's one of the reasons that the capital territory, the federal capital territory, had to leave Lagos to another region, which is now referred to as Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. And that's the reason Abuja is the first and the best purpose-built city in Africa. The first and arguably the best purpose-built city in Africa, because right from inception, it was built and designed for a particular purpose, to serve as the Federal Capital Territory and to be able to hold any number of people, no matter how massive it becomes. So flowing from there, it is rather clear that in terms of organization at some levels as it relates to real estate, Abuja clearly has an edge over Lagos, right? So, but now we're going to look specifically into land administration. So, as it relates to land administration, the first thing we need to say is the fact that the Land Use Act of 1978 is one act that governs entire Nigeria. But certain states do have certain internal laws that they make that help to, especially Lagos as a state, has certain laws that they make to help their land administration, right? But generally, as it relates to the Federal Capital Territory, one thing that makes Abuja really different from every other state or city in Nigeria is the fact that all lands within Nigeria are primarily that of the federal government. So largely, you buy land, you in quotes buy land from the federal government, not a community, not a monile, not a family, and not that. What basically happens at most times is that you buy the land from the government. Of course, you get a right of occupancy or a certificate of occupancy, depending on the level of administration authority that you approach to get that land. And then when you do that, eventually the communities have cash crops. They have things they may have planted on those lands, and then you settle them for their cash crops, not for the land, right? So at that level, Abuja has an edge over every other city in Nigeria. I've done real estate transactions in Port Harcourt, I've done in the East, I've done in Delta, I've done in Lagos, I've done in Port Harcourt, I've done in Uyo, right? And in doing real estate transactions in these locations, I do understand and I state categorically that this is indeed an edge, because it reduces certain certain issues that I do not want to go into. In fact, I was living in Benin prior to now, so I've done real estate transactions in Benin as well. So basically, based on the effect and the efficacy of the Land Use Act, Abuja as a city has superior or has a better land administration than most states in Nigeria. Of course, it has its own internal issues, but on a comparative basis, there's more organization in a city like Abuja, where you can take a land document, do a search. Every land, as it were, is expected to have either a right of occupancy or a certificate of occupancy, either from AMAC or from the FCTA, right? So at that level, every land is ordinarily should be on a system. So to check that land, all you need is a file number that basically checks at the AMAC level or at the FCDA level, or both, depending on the type of transaction that we're looking at. So that's that for Abuja. So for Lagos, while you hear things like community issues or monile, one family that, one this, that, and all of that, you necessarily would not hear that in Abuja because of the better administration of lands, and then of course a more unified administration of land, because it is the federal capital territory and has primary application or have primary usability of the Land Use Act itself, since it is a federal government law, all right, or act as it is, because that's the right technical word. So when you look at these two things comparatively, you would agree with me that Abuja has a better land administration than Lagos. However, one thing that you hear a lot about Abuja is demolition. Certain real estate companies doing what they were not supposed to do at certain places, and you begin to hear that the government is demolishing those places. Now that's fact, right? However, it is also what makes Abuja different from most other places because there's enforcement of law. There's enforcement of order. You are not allowed, or it is not proper to build a land or to build an estate on a passageway. What is supposed not to lead to flood, or I mean, there's a passageway for water to pass through, and if water doesn't pass through and you decide to build a house there, what happens is that you are going to be blocking the water, and that leads to flood and leads to so many other things that do not make sense. So it is only proper for the government to demolish such structures. Abuja is a planned city, so it's expected that you don't build A when you are supposed to build B on that land. You don't build C when you are supposed to be doing D on the land. You don't do a commercial structure when you are not supposed to do a commercial structure. So all of these things are what makes Abuja experience certain sanity at some level. Of course, Abuja has its issues. We're not disputing all of that, but those are the little tiny things that make the difference. Because when everyone is allowed to do whatever they like, it causes chaos, and then at the end of the day, you begin to hear certain issues that do not make sense. So that possibly is not an excuse for that. But I just need to state this factual, right? So that's that. And then apart from that, I'm not sure. Of course, there are some other issues, and that's not the purpose of this video, but just basically need to put create a balance as to the issue that Lagos has as it relates to land administration and the issue that Abuja has as it relates to land administration. I already mentioned from the very beginning that Lagos already has an advantage as it relates to return or rental value. But then there's something significant that I'm going to state here, which is fact, right? But just before that, let me land on the issue of Lagos. So as I already mentioned, Lagos has just about 1,000 square kilometers of land, and then the rest is water, right? And 24 million plus people use that. While in Abuja, you have over 1,000 square kilometers of land, about 1,004 square kilometers of land, and just about 6 million plus people use it. So apparently, simple economics tells you that there's more demand in Lagos for real estate than in Abuja. So automatically, there's supposed to be a higher price for real estate in Lagos than Abuja. And clearly, that is an advantage that Lagos has. But I'm going to give a practical instance. Now, I think that rental income specifically is more, or you get more from rental income in Abuja than in Lagos. And I'm going to say it comparatively based on an instance that we had. We had a client who had 50 million naira and wanted to buy a property either in Lagos or Abuja for rental income purposes. Now, our search started in Lagos because we wanted something that was his preference, right? Of course, he didn't know much about Abuja. That was the truth, right? So his priority was Lagos. And by the time we were looking out for properties that he could buy around 50 million naira, with the locations we were getting, for a property of 50 million naira, he barely was going to be getting around 1 million, 1.5 million naira on rental income. As a matter of fact, reaching out to our realtors and partners in Lagos, we barely could get something. But with a property with that 50 million naira in Abuja, in fact, there will be change left, right? You buy a property, in fact, for around 40 million in Abuja, and you may be getting as high as 2 million, 2.5 million naira on rental income. That was what we discovered. And that is fact, right? So, in my opinion, you can drop comments to refute what I just said. I think that as it relates to the capital for the investment, Lagos properties are more expensive, but I think that the rental returns on rent for the properties in Lagos are not as good as those of Abuja, because you can buy an apartment in Abuja for around 40 million and get rental income. We have products that guarantee that right on our YouTube channel or in our brochure. right? So with properties of around 40 million naira, you can possibly going home with 2.5 million naira as rental income. But you can use, or you may not be able to use that 40 million naira to buy an apartment in Lagos or a house in Lagos that will give you that rental income, because the highbrow areas are somewhat centralized. And before you can buy properties in those areas, you need 100 million or 100 million plus, right? So that's basically what I need to state or say about that in terms of rental income. But apart from this, going back to simple economics, there is a higher demand for real estate in Lagos than in Abuja because of the higher population with less land as against Abuja. So you need to look at that whenever you want to look at real estate investment in either of these places. So as part of my conclusion as it relates to return on investment, first, we know that in any city, your input determines your output as it relates to return on investment, and specifically the location that you invest in. So you can be investing in Maitama or some other highbrow areas in Abuja and then expect the same return when you're investing in a lowbrow area in Lagos. So you need to look at the basic comparisons of both cities. There are certain places in Abuja that you can get even up to 2% return on investment, and you may not be able to get up to 2% on investment as against Lagos. So it basically depends on the specific location within the city, as well as, of course, how much you are putting into the investment. So that's very important. Now, as it relates to location, Abuja clearly is in the middle of Nigeria. The middle, when you look at the Nigerian map, you see that it's somewhat in the middle, while Lagos is just at the very edge, which is one of the reasons. So clearly, because of the central location of Abuja, most flights from around Nigeria to Abuja would take you around 1 hour, 55 minutes, or sometimes I'm not sure you ever find a 2 hours flight from any location to Abuja because it's in the central, right? So it's almost an equal movement or accessibility from different locations, apart from when the roads are bad. But if it's flight where there are no potholes or issues on the in the air, rather, you would find out that most locations to Abuja are just about 5 minutes to 1 hour, or max 1 hour 30 minutes, right? So that speaks to the centralization of Abuja and easy accessibility to it. Now, the issue of prices of lands and property, which is the next, I'll just rush through the rest, is the fact that they're both different locations, right? And a location within that particular location, like Abuja, will determine how much you buy land there or how much you buy property there. There are places in both Abuja and Lagos that you can buy property for as high, I mean, just a land for as high as 1 billion naira, right? So it basically depends on the location that you are looking at. But what you should look at when you're looking at the investment that you're putting in is the return on investment. So you need to look at that specifically based on the location. But either way, whether you like it or not, Lagos is Lagos, Abuja is Abuja, and any investment you put into any of the cities, you will definitely get good returns on investment depending on the purpose for which you are making that investment. So the next issue we're going to look at is the issue of serenity, organization, or environment. The truth is a fact. Lagos and Abuja, as it relates to that, there are no comparisons. Abuja is calm, Abuja is cool, Abuja is beautiful. Already stated that it's purpose built and deliberately designed, right? So in terms of serenity, calmness, of course, you can't compare serenity to an environment where you have 6 million plus people, and on the other hand, where you have 24 million plus people. That basically tells you, that basically answers the question of which will be more serene, more calm. And generally, Abuja, the FCT is the federal capital territory, so you would expect that the government has to show forth itself as a good government, because Abuja houses embassies, Abuja houses multinational organizations, international organizations, and they need to speak well of Nigeria. And for them to speak well of Nigeria, Abuja, as a federal capital territory, has to represent. So the last 2 points, the penultimate one is the road network, accessibility within town. I mean, clearly Abuja has that because, like we already mentioned, Abuja is purpose built, and in terms of road connections, road network, man, proper flyovers where it's needed, and to reduction of congestion as it relates to traffic in certain regions, all of that is properly taken care of in Abuja. I think I like to say that even if Abuja gets to 20 million people, the road connections and road spacing for potential expansion are already intact. So largely, Abuja also still has an edge in that regard. And as against Lagos, we all know one issue that Lagos has, which is traffic. And of course, that takes us back to the issue of population and the fact that Lagos is pretty much or wasn't pretty much planned from the very beginning. So that's also an issue that Lagos has, and which is a fact. Okay, and then the last one is the issue of security. So again, Abuja is a federal capital territory, and you would expect that there are more security personnel. And then for Lagos, of course, I mean, there are a lot of private investments, government investments in Lagos, and what would expect that security will also do is work when they have the political will. And but generally, for both cities, Abuja is the federal capital territory, Lagos is our commercial capital, and in terms of that, the security will be very good, but comparatively, I think I may sway towards Abuja having a better security than Lagos. And of course, one of the reasons that Abuja, the federal capital, was moved from Lagos to Abuja is the fact that Lagos could be more prone to attack because it's close to the sea, while Abuja is somewhat in the middle, and it would take the attack would most likely come from the air, as it were. But all of these are facts and based on research and based on experiences of living directly or indirectly in Lagos and Abuja, and importantly also doing transactions around different regions in Nigeria. And one thing we cannot take away here is the fact that population is critical to any investment. So apparently Lagos has more population with less land size, and Abuja has less population with more land size. So clearly, Lagos has an edge in that regard, and population is critical to demand. And simple economics tells us that where there's high demand, and of course with lower or less availability of the product, then the prices go up, right? And so as far as that is concerned, Lagos already has an edge over Abuja. But one thing we cannot take away from this conversation is that Abuja is a federal capital territory, and there is a primary focus and interest in the city itself. And the quality of people who live in Abuja generally also help in the returns of investment that you put into Abuja. And so with the factors and facts stated, research done, and everything stated here, one thing that we must go home with is the fact that if you put your investment in Abuja, you will definitely get good returns on investment. If you also put your investment in Lagos, or you put your money in Lagos, you will also definitely get your returns on investment. But before you make any investment in either of these cities or both these cities, ensure that you have a purpose, a goal for making that investment. For some persons, they feel more comfortable relocating to Abuja from the diaspora than to Lagos, particularly if they do not have business interests in Lagos. For some other persons, because of their business interest, it's better for you to relocate to a place like Lagos, which is the commercial capital of Nigeria. So the goal, or your goal of making that investment or making that decision, is critical to which of these cities that you decide to choose. But if you're an investor like me, you definitely want to own investment in Lagos as well as own investments in Abuja. Both cities are major cities, are cities that you definitely want to invest in if you are an investor like myself. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope I'm not crucified for stating all of these facts. This video was designed strictly to be educational. This is just me stating facts. Some other persons may do the same video and give Lagos all of the advantage, or give Abuja all of the advantage. But I try to be as balanced as I could. But then certain facts are certain facts, and we cannot take them away. So notes already that stated that it's important that you invest in both cities. If you are an investor, or if you're not an investor, look at the purpose for which you are making your investment and decide which of these two cities you want to invest in. Again, my name is Raymond Dijoma. I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. And this video is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd, a real estate company right here in the city of Abuja. And we do real estate transactions across the nation as well. But quite importantly, we are primarily resident in Abuja. And that basically means that we are here for you. We are committed to you. We want to be part of your financial success story as you journey to building sustainable wealth through real estate investment in Nigeria. We don't look out for one-time transactions. We want to be part of that financial success story, your financial success story, as you journey to building sustainable wealth through real estate investment in Nigeria. So do well to subscribe and stay in touch and turn on the notification as well, because it's important that you do so that you don't miss out on any of the content that we put on this channel, either the investment opportunities or the educational videos that are designed to help you invest safely and rightly in real estate in Nigeria. So ladies and gentlemen, we see you right on inspection or any other conversation that you're willing to have with us. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye-bye.